now that you got on a high note, I think I'm going to move on to my high note because mine's a positive review, and it's of a movie that's came out on DVD recently, which I missed in the cinema, and I was dying to see in the cinema, and it's finally popped on DVD, and that is The Wolfman.
Ooh.
The Wolfman, and I'm going to tell you right now, it is so much fun. That is the best way I can describe this movie. It is fun. From beginning to end, it is fun. The movie has its flaws. In fact, it's got quite a few. In fact, it was a troubled shoot to begin with. But overall, the whole thing just works out great. The backstory behind The Wolfman was that it was originally done by a different director who, at the very beginning, was done by a director who wanted it to turn into more of a psychological horror movie and really turn it really gothic and really get into the thriller, into your mind's head kind of thing, right? But halfway through the writing of it and halfway through filming it, actually, while being produced by Benicio del Toro, who's also the star of the movie, the studio said, we're not liking where this is going. We wanted to be a little bit more blockbustery. We wanted to be a little bit more action-adventure kind of thing.
Bit more user-friendly.
A bit more user-friendly, because it was getting really dark and really gritty, to the point that they were saying, like, this is a bit too much. And the director hated this idea. He said, I'm loving where the direction of this movie's going. I really like it. If you don't want it, I'm leaving. So the director leaves. And because of that, then the movie had to be written about 5 or 6 times. And then it had to get a different director in, and then it had to be recast, and then it had to be reshot with the footage and some of the bits that were already filmed. So it was as if they got 2 movies and splashed it together. And to be honest, at moments it shows. While the atmosphere is constant, you can tell where suddenly the tone of the movie changes very quickly. It goes from like, I cannot handle being this monster, to like, I can kill you all because I'm a monster. So it really does swap. You can see the tone, how it switches.
And what that reminds me of?
What?
Oh, sorry.
Hang on.
That reminds me really of Alien 3 shoot. Because Alien 3 started off being this completely different movie to what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
And it was just basically director problems, and it was just all this. It's studio interference. At the end of the day, that's all it is. It's studios thinking, this might not make as much money as we want it to, so yeah, do this, make it better. And they don't know. They're just not filmmakers. They're money makers.
Exactly. And this is what they were trying to do here. So the movie was supposed to have been... This is how far back the movie was supposed to have been made. The movie was started in 2005. And it was supposed to have been launched in about 2007, but that happened. So they had to get a new director in. And so that took them another 2 years. Reshoots galore. I mean, there's some continuity errors in this, which it's almost, you can see is almost ghastly, especially with hair. Especially with the hair. But, again, it even with all these flaws, it flows. It's 2 different movies. But somehow it flows. The gothic atmosphere is constant, at least, which helps it. While the tone fluctuates like a baby on a sugar rush, it still is a good movie from beginning to end. And the story is basically this: you've got Benicio del Toro, who is related to Anthony Hopkins, who's basically an American actor, but actually he's British. But he was shipped to America when he was a little kid, hence why he gets away with the American accent. So see, that is the rewriting loopholes. If Benicio del Toro can't do an English accent, you look weird if he tries an English accent. Just write he's an American actor. Perfect. So they do that, and he realizes his brother. He finds out his brother was mysteriously murdered by some kind of weird animal. So when he was on tour in London, doing Shakespeare, picture a minute Benicio del Toro doing Hamlet. You know what I mean? You're like, this is a bit peculiar, but it's fun. So you go along with it, and then he says, "I have to go and see my family." So he goes off to a gigantic manor, I'm thinking, this guy was fucking loaded. So he goes in there, goes into the house, and there is basically Anthony Hopkins at the top of the stairs, looking as chewing the scenery and looking very evil. And I'm not giving okay. Thing is, I can't tell you what really happens from this point onwards, but then he since he's there, Anthony Hopkins is there, they're all trying to figure out what this thing is, what's happened, why is his brother dead, and get into a big conspiracy kind of thing until Benicio del Toro gets bitten by this weird Wolfman thing. Woo! And then
what could be happening now?
And so therefore they're very curious, and then the police have to get involved. And I tell you, the policeman is played by Hugo Weaving. The head of Scotland Yard played by Hugo Weaving, and he is another spot-on performance. He, again, chews the scenery, just like Anthony Hopkins does. He's like, these two are the hammiest performances ever, and it works so well with this movie, because this is basically an homage to the original 1930s, 1940s monster movie, and it does feel like, with these hammy performances, the atmosphere, and just the slight goofiness and the silliness of what's happening here, like it was a 1930s, 1940s film, just updated, and it works well. And it really does work well. I tell you something, once it gets further on, there's some really interesting scenes and very well shot, especially when Benicio del Toro's character has to be taken to an insane asylum because people don't believe that he could be a werewolf after being bitten by this, and he thinks it's all in his head. And there's a whole sequence where he's tied. It's a beautiful scene. He's tied to this chair, and the doctor, who again has a Russian, like German accent kind of thing, goes, as you can see, this man over here believes that when the moon is full, he will be turning into a wolfman. And there's all the doctors like, ooh.
So, what we are going to do is whenever he pretends he's a wolfman, we will release the gas.
There's a scene where he gets gassed as well. And there's a scene, and there's a scene where he gets tied to a chair and dunked into ice, like ice cold water. And he's like, stay under there. You're not a werewolf. So when he's in this chair, in this giant hall, as now you see that the moon is full. We're going to stay here and prove to this man that he was not a psychotic killer wolf being who happens to be destroying anything in his sight. And guess what? He becomes this Wolfman and kills nearly everyone in the fucking room, and it is gory. I'm surprised how gory this movie is. It is bloody. Heads fly off, disembowelment, arms and things are being ripped apart. It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome, and that's another fun factor. It is gory as shizzle. It is brilliant. Blood squirts in all directions, and while it gets goofier and goofier by the end of it, you're going along with it because it's just fun. It's a fun movie from beginning to end. And I tell you right now, if you let your brain go a little bit and you start off, even at times where it's a bit slow, just let your brain go with it and just go along with Benicio del Toro speaking in Victorian English with Anthony Hopkins playing basically the pantomime villain in the movie together, trying to fight off a werewolf who basically looks like the son from the Monsters, and just go with it, how gory and stupid it gets. And Hugo Weaving as well, him again eating the furniture up and just being this badass guy. It's spot on perfect, and it is fun. It might lose its track and its point, but it's just one hell of a thrill ride. I say, enjoy it. Howl at the moon if you need to. Just do it.